Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt and this is Cutting Through the Matrix on September the 17th, 2012. For newcomers, I always suggest that you make good use of the website cuttingthroughthematrix.com. There's well over 1,000 audios there for free download, and I try and basically put together the system you're born into, the one that's never really told to you by you're not informed about at school, or you're not informed by the media. The media is part of the deception, of course, to keep you in the reality that your better has decided that you should be in and believe in too. And so I give you the big societies, agencies, organizations that got together a long, long time ago to bring in a world society, but not just any world society, their world society, where they would rule, and rule much easier than before, with less rebellions from the public at home, by dumbing them down, of course, giving them the same standard education system, drugging the youngsters too, the brighter ones if possible, the ones who could articulate what was happening to others, had to be caught at school. That's the sifting net, as they call it. So you have to see after the audios. There's lots of information there about the big organizations that still run the world. They're open about it now. For those who want to go into their sites, go into the CFR, for instance, go into the Royal Institute for International Affairs in Britain. And you also got the CFR group as well that runs all of the European Union. Every member of parliament there is a member of the same organization. They're worldwide. Every country's got them. They give you your presidents, prime ministers, and have done for 100 years, according to their own official historian, Carol Quigley. So you understand then why you're going through crisis and how the big boys always use crisis to their advantage. And many times the crises are all contrived by all of the different sides. You think they're fighting each other. In actual fact, they're very often colluding with each other. So, of course, they can come forward and say, are you terrified enough, world? If you are, give up sovereignty and let the United Nations be the world global government. That's what it's all about, global governance. They're always on about it in all their writings. And remember, too, you're the audience that bring me to you. You can help me keep going by buying the books and discs at cuttingthroughthematrix.com. And you can also donate. And from the US to Canada, you can use personal checks or international postal money orders. You can send cash or use PayPal across the world, Western Union, MoneyGram, and PayPal once again. And straight donations are awfully, awfully welcome, because I don't bring on advertisers who are put across as guests and sell things. And I have no shares in any company selling any of the products whatsoever. But we live in deception, and it's managed deception. It's very, very good, because it's an old science. Science of running countries is ancient. They give you religions. Even if you get something unique starting up, they'll take it over and then use it to dominate you. Doesn't matter what happens, with the best intentions at the beginning, anybody can be taken over eventually once they're dead, and then they'll use it against you to make you dumb and obedient to your betters, as I like to call it. And today, of course, they're using neuroscience, masters of psychology. Psychologists are heavily involved with all governments and agencies, and with adults too, of course, because your psychology, what you believe and think, comes from the media and entertainment, believe it or not. Most of your indoctrination actually comes through entertainment, when you can actually show fictional scenes portraying almost real events, and then, just put a tab over the limit, and then your mind gets embedded with the images that stay with you for life. And that's your opinion fixed in your head regarding this people, that people, whatever the target group happens to be. And you never question it. It's very, very simple. And as I say, these are arts, well understood and discussed by academia at the top, because all academia is on board with this world agenda, since they all take grants, not just from governments, of course, we're paid, but from the big foundations that run the world. Back with more after this break. Hi folks, I'm back. We're cutting through the matrix, and I always think about progress and who defines what progress happens to be. Progress is simply a plan, you see, obviously, because they know where they're going. That's what they call progress. Otherwise, it can go off in thousands of directions. Would they still call it progress? No, they wouldn't do it. Now, about 12 years ago or so, maybe more, the articles in the Canadian newspapers talked about Wi-Fi and smart meters and how they'd all be connected. And eventually, if they deemed you using too much, they would cut you off personally. So instantaneously too, because they're reading your meter in real time. And then eventually we had the Internet of Things, where all things were to be connected to the smart meter through Wi-Fi and so on. What's already happened? And Canada had a big expose of new appliances for houses that are Wi-Fi and do exactly that. But of course, the actual article is to make you think it's all wonderful. It says, for the Internet-based homeowners who can't pry themselves away from Twitter for a minute, there's now a Wi-Fi refrigerator with a screen on it. I mean, you always wanted one of them, didn't you? Samsung was the first to market in Canada with home appliances that connect to Wi-Fi, and in the case of its refrigerators, there's a number of built-in apps to use. LG is the manufacturer. It says it expects to release a line of smart washers and dryers in Canada sometime this year. Smart one, of course, is a dryer really that comes with a servant to do it all, I guess. Samsung's wirelessly connected washing machine and dryer allows users to start and pause the machines remotely or check the status of the cycle via smartphone or tablet app. The pair sells for $3,000 plus taxes in Canada. You might say, well, who really wants to do that? Said Ronald Duell, Samsung's Vice President of Home Appliance Sales and Marketing. And he says it's cool, you see. Everything's cool. You don't have to go running upstairs, blah, blah, blah. Now you can plan other things that you want to do. So, labor-saving devices, you can do other things, you know. For more advanced is Samsung's Wi-Fi connected fridge with its 20-centimeter touchscreen that works like a tablet. Is a manufacturer suggested retail price of $3,900. There's an app connected to Google Calendar to keep track of family appointments. You can tell them everything you're doing, you see. And an app for leaving on-screen notes to others. And a grocery manager that lets you build a digital inventory of food and drinks as you put them into the fridge. It actually reads you the barcodes and all the food that you're putting in. It also keeps track of expiry dates to prevent you forgetting about the soon-to-spoil cheese hidden away. It actually goes further. In the article quite a few years back, it mentioned the fact that they can actually order from the main supermarket that you attend, and the stuff could be delivered to you if you're wealthy enough for it to be done so. But also, don't forget all this data and what you're eating goes back to the government agencies. You understand what it's all really for? I hope you do. So I'll put this link up tonight for those who are interested. Maybe a lot of folk will actually want it so they can chat on their phone as the dryers are going and stuff. And this is an interesting article too, because right now there's masses of crisis creation going on. You understand you've got to hype up crisis to get the public terrified, but you want to make a major move, like uniting the world, for instance, getting you all terrified. They tried all this through the phony Cold War system with Russia and the US and Britain and the rest of Europe. We're going to get nuked every day, and they funded massive campaigns for demonstrators who got with their families and placards and ban the bomb and all that kind of stuff, and we don't want to get nuked. And they hoped then that would be enough to get the world to its knees. So we need an intermediary. Again, the United Nations was to take supreme power over everything, and it didn't quite pan out that way. World War II was the same. During World War II, big boys, including Winston Churchill, said this will get a united Europe. Well, that's exactly what Hitler wanted. They don't care who does it, you see, as long as they get it. Because all sides work for the same ultimate at the top. But this one going on right now with the big armada going over to the Persian Gulf from the US and Britain is again to get everybody terrified of what's going to happen. And then you have Netanyahu's still hyping it up and telling the US to get on with it and, get rid of Iran, etc. Because that's the job of the US. And it says here, Defence Minister in Britain, it says Clegg, the Minister Clegg, who's an internationalist anyway, you should see his background, asked me because I won't support attack on Iran, it says. The Liberal Democrat defence ministers claimed he was sacked to avoid a damaging coalition split over a preemptive strike on Iran. Former Armed Forces Minister Sir Nick Harvey told friends he was fired in a reshuffle to allow Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg to sign Britain up to an Israeli-US preventative strike to take out Iran's nuclear installations. So he didn't want to go along with it, so they basically got him out of his position. Friends of Sir Nick, who was handed a knighthood just days earlier, said that he could have embarrassed the Liberal Democratic leader by being too critical of Israel's actions if he had still been in the key Ministry of Defence post. Well, Sir Nick Clegg, as I say, has got a good, interesting history. You got to read it to find out why he's awfully pro-Israel and all this kind of stuff, but a lot of them are. For the same reasons. The row broke as sources have confirmed that British intelligence agents are already deeply involved in attempts to discover Iran's nuclear secrets. You know, it's so thick with spies today and provocateurs and all these countries, you don't know what to believe in the media. This is also run by the same... You understand, big corporations run the world. They own the government. They all work together. That's how we are today. And it says here, so you've got Israeli Mossad in, you've got CIA in, you've got MI6 in there, and goodness knows who else in all these countries, provocateuring, paying people for demonstrating, all this kind of stuff. You can't take anything to the bank as the truth because they're all at it over there, and to find the real culprits, you'd have to go in with your own private, secretive army and catch them all. There's no other way you'll get the truth out. It's also understood that the US has asked Britain to provide frigates to patrol the Straits of Hormuz, through which much of the world's oil passes. The sacking of the respected minister took members of parliament and the army top brass by surprise. Party sources have insisted the move, which left the Ministry of Defence staffed entirely by Tories, while Conservatives, was due to Mr. Clegg's decision to accept Liberal Democrat ministerial jobs and other more voter-friendly government departments. Doesn't matter what side you think you're on. There are no sides. So he says, when he was approached the Mail on Sunday, Sir Nick confirmed he had considered his sacking was linked to mounting speculation of a preemptive strike on Iran. Now this preemptive stuff, a strike first, is based on an Israeli concept. That's their tradition of Israel. That if you suspect someone may down the road attack you, then you attack them first. It could be years down the road, or it might not be not at all. But if you even have a suspicion, you attack them first. There's no ifs and buts about it. And that was taken up by the neocons, remember, when Bush was in. And that they came in with it then for the US. And we've been doing that ever since. But there's a bigger plan behind it all, as they annihilate what they say is a religion that will not adopt this new system. The New World Order, which is the Muslim religion. And that's what it's all about. Plus putting in the same people who already dominate the world across those countries that are now conquered. That's what it's about. Now, another article too is to do with this one here. It says UK, it says the British Foreign Office says it's no objections to an Egyptian initiative. It says the British Foreign Office has said there's no objection to an Egyptian initiative which includes Iran being involved in a quartite-like mandate for resolving the unrest in Syria. The British Foreign Secretary William Hague had previously stated, listen to this, the Foreign Secretary for Britain, previously stated that Iran's peaceful efforts to end the unrest in Syria were not helpful. Peaceful efforts were unhelpful. But recently a spokesperson for the UK Foreign Office said London did not reject initiative from Egypt, which seeks from help from Iran to deal with the unrest in Syria. It comes after reports confirmed in recent months that British intelligence forces were operating in Syria. So we've got them operating in Libya, in Syria, across in Egypt. They're everywhere. Everywhere fomenting unrest, you see. Hiring local thugs and so on. You've always got a criminal element in every people. You can hire the thugs to do whatever you want them to do and then blame the whole people. Old stuff. Britain's been at this for centuries. And this is the president of Egypt, Mohamed Morsi, has said the UN Arab League envoy to Syria, Lakhdar Brahimi, would be provided with an office in Cairo where representatives of the proposed quartet included those from Iran, and they could meet him there. During the international dispute, the UK appears to be realizing that Iran holds a key role in restoring peace in Syria and may be using Egypt's proposal to re-establish Syria-related communications with Iran. Quite amazing, but they want to go over and bomb Iran at the same time. All doublespeak, isn't it? What a world we live in. So you won't get real truth from the news that could investigate a lot deeper, but they won't, because they're all part of the system, to give you the fake reality, you understand. And also, this one here is about About 50 arrests have been made in connection with the attack on the US consulate in Benghazi, in which the American ambassador and 3 other consulate employees were killed. It's amazing too that the US has still not got, in all their records, a consulate there, an actual embassy there. So they were living in a house, a big house. But it's not listed as an embassy. Anyway, it says some of the suspects involved are from outside the country, Libya's president told the CBS News. So here we go again. We've got Mossad, CIA, MI6, Special Forces in all these countries. And it says, here you have the US consulate in Benghazi. I mean not the US consulate, but the Libya's president saying that there's no doubt that the attack was pre-planned, and many of them were foreigners who entered the country a few months ago and have been planning the act since their arrival. On the same program, however, UN Ambassador Susan Rice said the US has no evidence proving the attacks in Benghazi were premeditated. We do not have information at present, she says, but of course it's premeditated, and they were outsiders, so that was planned before, obviously. Back with more after this break. Hi folks, I'm back cutting through the matrix, and this article here too is to do with Japan. Of course here they've got a flare up with China right now. China's been told to get the demonstrators out because that's all the Chinese never demonstrate unless they're told to do it by their totalitarian government. But it's over some disputed islands that Japan wants to use. And I read months ago on the air about Japan had already approached even Russia with they have some islands there too in that region, because they know the fallout from Fukushima is going to have endless repercussions with cancers in all the generations for long time to come. Who knows how long? And they wanted to try and save as many folk and keep Japan going by putting a lot of people into these other islands as well. And that's really what this is about. This is why they're trying to get some, and they've been buying these islands too, but China's just been told to get the back up about it and be kind of nasty about it to show their strength, the growing strength that they have. But don't kid yourself too, because the guys who run the rest of the world also run China and their banking system. They've been in there for a long time. And it says here, some major Japanese brand name firms announced factory shutdowns in China Monday and urged expatriates to stay indoors ahead of what could be more angry protests over territorial dispute between Asia's 2 biggest economies. The worst outbreak of anti-Japan sentiment in decades led to weekend demonstration and violent attacks on well-known Japanese businesses, such as car makers Toyota and Honda, forcing frightened Japanese into hiding and prompting Chinese state media to warn that trade negotiations could be in jeopardy. So they're throwing their weight around, but the public there, as I say, don't do anything unless they're told to by the government. So it's agitation from their own government. Another outbreak of anti-Japan sentiment is expected across China on Tuesday, the anniversary of Japan's 1931 occupation of parts of mainland China. So things are going along the way they're supposed to, I suppose. I've talked about Jacques Attali many times. The guy who was at the United Nations, a very high position there, on a futurist as well. He's been advisor to various French prime ministers for many times, and he was a guy that everybody really came to see. He was the guy that you had to see, not necessarily the prime minister. He was so important. But here he goes against the guy who also said that the world will be cordoned off into different areas. And the next boat people would be the United States people looking for work across the seas, because internationalism is here to stay. And that means international corporational rule. A leading French economist, that's him, Jacques Attali, has called for the creation of a single EU-wide passport to put in place a real status of European citizenship, to do away with their national citizenship. Italy, who chairs an independent think tank set up by the previous government to look at French growth and reform, said the new document would give citizens in every EU member state equal rights to vote in the country in which they choose to settle and equal responsibilities to pay tax there. That's what a citizen's for, Actually, when you immigrate, that's why your consulate and your consulate go over you to decide who's getting to own you. And actually the country you're going into can actually pay the last one a certain fee because they're going to lose all the taxes that you would have made there for them. We see we're property, you understand? When you think about it, we're just property. So anyway, writing on the French opinion site, Italia said one can imagine that any citizen from whatever member state could obtain European nationality. That's the big one, of course, is to have no nations at all, as you all know by now. You're all well aware of it. And Russia, I've talked about this many times, and so have other people, about the gold system, silver system, diamond system, and how they keep so much back from the public to keep the prices up. They used to warehouse this stuff in South Africa to make sure the prices stayed up. Well, Russia reveals a shiny state secret. It's awash in diamonds. Trillions of carats lie below a 35-million-year-old 62-mile diameter asteroid crater in eastern Siberia known as Popigae Astroplum. It says the Russians have known about the site since the 1970s. And it says that the Soviets discovered the bonanza back in the 70s beneath a 35-million or 62-mile diameter asteroid crater. And it says they decided to keep a secret and not to exploit it, apparently because the USSR's huge diamond operations at Mirny and Yucatan were already producing immense profits in what was then a tightly controlled world market. In other words, to keep the prices up. The Soviets were also producing a range of artificial diamonds for industry into which they had invested heavily. The veil of secrecy was finally lifted over the weekend, and Moscow permitted scientists from the nearby Novosibirsk Institute of Geology and Mineralogy to talk about it with Russian journalists. According to the official news agency ITAR-TASS, the diamonds at Popigae are twice as hard as the usual gemstones, making them ideal for industrial and scientific uses. And it says they've got enough there to overturn global diamond markets, and they've got enough to keep the world going with its present market for 3,000 years. Not bad, eh? And you'll find it's the same things with everything else, oil, gold, whatever. They have masses of it. And that's how the world is really run. Now, JP Morgan were investigated for more money laundering, it says here. Regulators are investigating whether several major US banks failed to monitor transactions properly, allowing criminals to launder money, according to the New York Times story. The newspaper cited officials who said it spoke on the condition of anonymity. So and the Bank of America is involved too. Back with more after this break.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
Hi folks, I'm back. We're cutting through the matrix. The big system too, you'll find out if you go back far enough and read all the books by those who were involved in this big system for this type of world order where the masses are kept in their places and trained like peasants basically, and the elite rule them through academia and government agencies and train them to be peasants as well. You find that H.G. Wells was one of the top propagandists for them. He wrote a lot of non-fiction stuff as well, and it's worth reading his non-fiction. He's on the line, member of the Fabian Society, and that's doing very well today. It's really up to the Fabian Society. Works with the Royal Institute for International Affairs. It's still funded by Astor Foundation and other big foundations, and they help run the world, of course. But anyway, it says children will be taught to recognize sexual feelings from the age of 11 or 12 under a new national physical education curriculum criticized by religious groups. It's in Australia, but it's already spread elsewhere. Physical, social, and emotional changes of puberty will be taught in years 5 and 6 when children are as young as 9 and 10. But Catholic educators have forced Australian Curriculum, Assessment and Reporting Authority to back down from its plan to explain puberty to children as young as 7 over concerns that children might freak out. Acara, as A-C-I-R-A, had wanted puberty as a topic to be introduced in years 3 and 4. You know, remember too, everything's coming from the United Nations. They actually wanted class masturbation lessons too. And going back to H.G. Wells, he actually wrote about what they called free love. Most folk think that broke out with the hippie era. No. It started in the late 1800s, and Wells was part of it. He promoted that through his books. Because they said you must destroy the family unit and get everybody, rutting like rabbits, basically, as soon as they can. That way they'll never bond with anybody. And then they'll do away with all kinds of things, including pedophilia. And we're on the road to that too. They never change their plans, you understand, the whole bunch around the world. Guidelines for the first national curriculum on health and physical education reveal a shift, listen to this, from a focus on sport and fitness to the politically correct topics of gender, and not be all kinds of genders now, all in betweens, sexuality, culture, ethnicity, socio-economic status, and psychosocial environments. You see? So this is a new thing. Rather than sports and all the rest of it, this is what you get into ethnicity, so socio-economic status, and psychosocial environments. That's so that, when you're young and you haven't got a clue what's going on, should you take part in an orgy or not if it's going on. That's what that means, And make you feel good about it too. Now there's Mike from Pennsylvania hanging on the line there. Are you still there, Mike?
Yeah, I'm here. I wanted to go over, just as I know it in my lifetime, I'm in my mid-40s, the history of protests as people I've known in my lifetime. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was an airport not too far in the suburb, the same county. And there was all kind of, it was a private airline, but there was flight paths going right over the suburb constantly. Now, these people all went to the township meetings. They protested where the airport was located, and they worked out some kind of a deal where they could disperse the flights in more of a rotation and not be affected as much. So they affected change by being involved.
Yeah.
Fast forward to the early 90s, I was in the developing business, and there was a model airplane club. Was a big farm next door. They had like on the weekends they would fly airplanes, and loud buzzing noises. I wasn't aware it was there at the time. And anyway, the people who started moving in, they all went to the township, protested, and worked out a deal with to minimize this decibel problem. And then fast forward there to the summer of 2001, before 9/11. There was in the township I lived, there was they were going to propose a trailer park, and everybody was telling everybody else, you got to go to this meeting, you got to go, you got to stop this. I went to this meeting. I mean, literally, I couldn't get a parking place for a whole mile. It was cars everywhere. I figured, well, these people got the problem taken care of. And yeah, there was no trailer park in there. And it's like that show in Mushroom Ease, like on Seinfeld, when Kramer starts his gambling habit, and Newman says, Kramer, you're a weak man. And what happened to people from this time period where they had the capacity in themselves, the toughness to do something about anything that bothers them to today, where there's TSA, there's drones, there's smart meters, I mean, you name it.
That's right. Well, a lot has happened, because when you go back into the books written by the big boys like Charles Galton Darwin in the 1950s, and he was a physicist that worked on the atom bomb in the Manhattan Project, and descendant of Charles Darwin, but he said that eventually we'll have to use different techniques on the public, especially the male, by the way, to stop them having that natural ability for self-survival, take that self-survival ability away from them by literally altering their chemical makeup, even effeminizing them by destroying the testosterone level. He says we can alter that by giving them estrogen in the food. We can attack them biologically with inoculations, or we could put stuff in their water, or they could even spray it from the air. Well, they've done all of that. That was part of it too. And also, too, was the eradication of even community cultures. It wasn't just the family unit that was under attack. They wanted the border community to start to stop them from even communicating with each other. Plus the internet came in, and folk literally are off on 1,000 tangents. They can't concentrate on one thing that matters in their area anymore. So they've done an awful good war strategy to stop us getting out there, taking to the streets, and simply saying, no, the people are really, mentally, they're dumbed down. And the UN has been doing annual IQ tests in the States and elsewhere. And they had to drop the standard IQ test by now 10 points now. First it was 5, then another 5 last year. Because our IQ is dropping. Even newborns. Yeah, IQ is innate. You're born with it. Something's happening to us. You're under attack. That's what's happened.
But you really think this was so condensed within the last 11 years?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what happened to people's brains. It's like they have no, you're supposed to be tough and have a soft heart, but people really have no heart and they're weak.
They're weak. But that goes back to...
It's like they engineered this kind of animal, that human animal.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Well, see, Charles Galton Darwin said, we must do this to the general public because they will not need their wild capabilities, their wildness, in other words, natural suspicion, natural observations. We must destroy that, he said. He says, we the elite must not change ourselves because we'll be guiding planet Earth. And he said, we must retain our wild man capabilities. But the average person will destroy it with average person because the government and government agencies will be making all their decisions for them. They won't need that, so they can actually attack your brain. Yeah.
But you look at a picture of Jack Satali. I mean, he looks like a pencil neck geek.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't look tough to me. I mean,
he doesn't have to.
How's he not affected?
Well, they don't eat what you get. They don't get inoculations that you get either. And
he doesn't look that masculine to me.
Oh no, doesn't have to be masculine, but his mind is still wily and it's cunning, and he has the power to get things moving and get things started. He's also been up a few times with arms smuggling across the world, this guy. So he's not a little gentle guy at all. He's making lots of cash out of all these wars and moving massive amounts of firearms and equipment to all the factions they want to have rebellions down the road. So they're involved in it, but the thing is, they're cunning and they have the act. What they have too is incredible energy. We don't have energy now. Everybody's complaining they're tired all the time. And part of it is because you are eating chemicalized warfare basically. It's food. The food that they give you is weaponized. When you get into the higher clubs, bureaucrats know this, you're given your card and you get your access to special food. It doesn't even get the poisons coming down with the spraying that goes on in the air. It's literally done under domes. And in Canada, they even have them underground by the Ministry of Agriculture. We can't get access to this stuff. It's not GM modified, it's not soaked in pesticides, and they don't get inoculations we get either. We really are under attack. And this is deliberate, it's not accidental,
Yeah, I mean, I eat a lot of garden food. I'm blessed that I've done a pretty good job this year. But I mean, how do people get it within themselves mentally, that toughness to kind of shake this stuff off? And you just see so many people like this where they're literally in a hypnotized state. That's why maybe if you can get them under hypnosis or something to try to change their train tracks they're on. It's like literally they'll clap at any command they get from TV or their peers or anything. It's unreal at this point.
It is unreal. And you understand too, there's mass psychology warfare on them as well through all media to train them to be domesticated, to leave things to your betters, the superior ones that come out of superior wombs. And that's what the big boys have written in so many of their articles. That's exactly what they said they'd do, and they have done it. They have done it.
I mean, like, for example, I was at the trying to get gas today. The credit cards were down, and I was talking to this black guy. I thought, it was a pickup truck. I thought it was like a blue-collar guy. I thought, maybe this guy is kind of anti-New World Order. I said, he went to 2 gas stations. He couldn't use his credit card at either one.
Yeah.
So there was something wrong with this. And I said, yeah, it's probably the bleeping government. And he starts giggling, almost like a white person would. And I was a little disappointed because I thought maybe he'd kind of wince and say, hey, you might got a point there. I'm getting really disappointed in people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But as I say, you've got to always understand they have been under attack, physical and mental attack, for a long time. And they've got them at the stage now where literally, Bertrand Russell said the same thing. He says, we'll create an egocentric society, narcissistic society. They will not be interested in what those who rule them are doing. And they'll be taught just to play and have fun. That generation is now becoming very evident. And so that's what's happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be, just for my own satisfaction, I'm going to be out of the country on Election Day and a little before that. So, I don't really care. I mean, not just the presidency, any of that stuff. By the time I come back, I couldn't care less what happens before and after.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun getting out of this country for a while.
Yeah, and actually it'll be a challenge to get out at all in the near future. Yeah. But thanks for calling.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Bye now. But yeah, people have no idea they're under attack. And once you're past a certain point of being under attack, you don't care. Because it's worked, you see. Very simple. Very, very simple. And everything I'm saying has been written about by the elite themselves. And promoted. Now, everybody's talking about this U.S. film that was made, at least within the U.S., to attack Islam. It's not a film either, it's a trailer, supposedly. And they've been bashing Islam for years. I put up an article before, I'll do it again tonight, to show you how you've been trained for over 30, 40 years to hate people in the Middle East. And it's called Real Bad Arabs. And you forget that. You've had lots of indoctrination before all the wars started, getting you all ready for the wars. You see. And I've said before, the imprint is put into your mind through fiction, especially if you're enjoying it. The imprints of these characters and their faces and the nastiness is obviously innate in the movies. That's how it comes across. It's stuck in your head. It's stuck there. And you don't see them as people. They're dehumanized. So you don't care if it was done to them. Here's another way to do it too, is a novel, a popular thriller. This is typical, a popular thriller by Avi Perry. He's a disinterested party, right? Avi Perry. A suspenseful and intriguing read from the start to finish, masterly plotted, thrilling, captivating, replete with stealth, and above all enlightening. Makes you laugh, makes you cry, makes you understand. It's called Virgins. It's a novel about jihad, terrorism, and security agencies' struggle to thwart its stratagem and trounce their perpetrators. Abu Musa is an Islamic terrorist with an agenda, a ticking time bomb inside the US. Arik Golan is an Israeli who tries to bring him down and pull the plug on his terror organization. Stanley Kramer is an FBI agent on a hunting mission seeking to place both Abu Musa and Arik within his crosshair. The FBI, the Israeli Foreign Intelligence Service, the Mossad, the US-based Iranian clandestine terror network, and the Islamic Jihad fraternity are engaged in a timeless conflict played out to a crescendo that comes to a head before the dramatic conclusion. That's what they put out, novel after novel, or movie after movie. And that's where it all comes from, folks. And there's definitely an agenda behind it. Big money and intelligence services behind this kind of stuff. Now, Apple's been in trouble before. They don't care because they're international. But they allowed forced one-child pregnancy screening of its employees in China. You understand, if you're pregnant again, you're whisked off by the authorities and they hold you down and abort you, and then they, of course, do different strange things with fetuses. The Communist Chinese policy of birth control has coerced abortions to reduce the birth rate of couples to one child. It's a very real and grim fact. LifeSite News recently reported the story of Chen Guangcheng, a dissident who escaped from China and is shining the spotlight on Apple Corporation, whose employees at factories in China are compelled to undergo monthly pregnancy tests. That's real government intrusion, isn't it? But you don't mind because it's them, isn't it? It's not you. That's coming to you, though. It's coming to you, too. You've had people in your own countries call for it at the top. In this other article, too, it's called Abortion and Other Family Shredding Death Mills. The depopulation cult as if human life was sacred or mattered at all. It says, modern medicine, this is from a doctor, modern medicine is an idolatrous religion. What resides at the core of every religion, the core from which hope radiates when all human attempts to deal with earthly conditions fail, is the deity, the one who transcends it all. To get to the core of modern medicine, you have to wade through an ocean of man-made drugs and fight your way through endless tons of machinery. If you don't understand why the church, they're talking about the church of medicine, is savagely idolatrous and must be destroyed, you'll never stare at this deity in the face. The god of modern medicine is death, it says. We're programmed for life very deeply in our natures. Our strongest urges are procreative and life-supporting, but these are the instincts and activities that modern medicine attacks. Thus, dangerous forms of birth control, abortion on demand, masturbation, homosexuality, all non-procreative forms of sexual activity result in diminution of population growth. That's why they're promoted. These alternate lifestyles which do not promote life are acceptable, but things people have been doing for thousands of years to promote life are not. The only alternative lifestyle is not acceptable. There's any one which precludes participation in the church. It's a sin if you have your baby at home, but not a sin if you have an abortion. It's a sin if you honor a foreign god by going to a chiropractor, but it's not a sin if you go to one of the shrines of modern medicine for a sex change. Any biological stress these activities may have on the body and soul are ignored. Quite a good article, actually, when you read through. I'll put it all up tonight at cuttingthroughthematrix.com. Back after this. We're back cutting through the matrix, and this article is about China again. And it's written in the communist way, where the government always blames the public for what's happening. About 5.6% of newborns in China have birth defects, with about 900,000 affected infants born each year, according to a Ministry of Health report. Birth defects have become the second greatest cause of infant deaths in China, accounting for 19.1% of infant deaths. See the report on the prevention and treatment of newborn defects for 2012, issued by the ministry on Wednesday. That's a government ministry. Of the babies born with defects, about 30% die within 5 years after birth, while another 40% suffer lifelong deformities. The report says about 250,000 newborns have visible defects, it says. Now, you got to remember too, they've had many documentaries, not so many today though, maybe last year, the year before, about the massive pollution in China, cadmium and all the rest of it, that comes out of the factories and it's dumped into rivers, and there's been many exposés on how bad it is. And then the guys were watering their fields with the same stuff for their vegetables. But of course the government's got a different story. Experts there believe that the increase in birth defects may be linked to the withdrawal of compulsory premarital health checks in 2003. Now the boys in the Western world, like Wells and other ones, wanted this to be done here, where they'll take they'll go for your DNA and everything else and check to see if there'll be any problems down the road. This is what they're always on about, to breed a better type of slave. So in China, they were doing that up until 2003. They were taking your blood and all the rest of it, going through your family histories before they'd allow you to marry, you see. So apparently they stopped that in 2003. So they're blaming the people for just marrying whoever they want to marry and ending up like this. This is as well as an increase in the number of women who have had their first child at an older age. The intake of prohibited medicine, increased exposure to radioactivity, and drinking have also been contributing to the increase, the experts say. So it's a real mess as well. But mind you, the peasants, like every other country that's been used before them in industry, are completely disposable. That happened in Britain and other countries as well. And they just write you off at the end. But it says that birth defects are a serious problem in China, particularly in rural areas. Neural tube defects, congenital heart disease, cleft lip, and hydrocephalus are amongst the most common defects. It says that to curb birth defects, authorities launched a health program in 2009 to provide free folic acid supplements for 12 million rural women of childbearing age to help prevent birth defects. Now, China has the most multi-millionaires on the planet, billionaires too. But the peasant is living on a restricted diet, you see. Everything there is maximize the profit. Strange communism, this, isn't it? I told you before, there's no such thing as whatever term they call your country. Communism, capitalism, because it's run by the same people. Always was, by the way. The World Health Organization states that more than 7.9 million children, or about 6% of total births worldwide, are born with birth defects each year due to genetic or environmental causes. And we're getting sprayed like bugs over here every darn day with the heavy metals that they're spraying to supposedly stop global warming. And they're also using HAARP along with it too. They're altering the jet streams. That always came out during the treaties that signed at the United Nations to do with weather warfare. They've been doing it for years now, folks. Years. It's all coming down. And there's movies that are about it, and films that are about it, and documentaries that are about it. And it's killing off the trees, it's killing off the birds, and it's killing off the people. There's many ways to kill off people, remember. Especially the ones they'd never believe. It's unthinkable. Who would do that? Who would do that? Same guys that bring you wars for profit, as they're going through today. From Hamish myself from Ontario, Canada, is good night to me, your God, or your gods go with you.